Now I'd like you to tell me about what it was like as a kid growing up during the war in Germany, as far as, blackouts, types of food you had to eat, collecting firewood. You got one tree a year or something like that.
Because we had to have the windows on, all blocked out every night because of no light shining through.
Lousy Americans would come over and bomb you.
Some Americans guidance
Right.
where they are.
Where the main city is,
They
right?
didn't know where they were going really, knew where they were going.
They didn't have GPS back then.
Oh, good, I did that, yeah. Well, I met a man here, one of my customers, who was a civil engineer, and especially was making maps. And he and 2 or 3 other guys who were similar schooled and had this idea. They were taken down to Casablanca. It's in northwest Africa, right on the coast. And there they made maps for the bombing rates. And they had to make a square out within 1 mile of whatever that was their target.
I see.
1 mile each direction was there. And I think they kept it fairly well. Was trying to shield the civilians. It was the reason for it.
Right.
I had to get there first.
Right, they needed to figure out, where they really were.
Yeah.
To where they're going, so.
So everything must be blacked out.
So how did you black out the windows? With like cardboard or cloth or boards or?
I don't know how we got that or where it came from, but it was felt, thick felt.
Oh,
That thick, 1/4 inch thick or so. And their woman sewed 2 rings on, practically on either end. And there were little nails or whatever, and by the window there, and we had to put them in there. In the bottom, we had to push them against the casing.
I see. So, and you put them up and down every day.
Yes.
So in the daytime, you could have them open and get your light in. And did you hear, bombs dropping or?
No, nothing around us. The only thing I remember is when they attacked Stuttgart. Big raid. We went right down the cellar when the assassins come up.
I see.
And it was all quiet. There's no shooting going on, no bombing, explosion, or anything. So, Opa had brought home from when he was in France and Belgium 2 helmets. One for Gus, one for me.
You're all ready for the lousy Americans.
Well, to play,
Right,
play to them.
right.
And we went out and we looked down to Stuttgart. It was all red.
Red?
The whole sky was red. And then we could see where a bomb exploded. They apparently dropped the bomb and of course, we could see that. But that's all we could see because, I don't know if you realize that, but Stuttgart was down. There's walls all around, 3 sides, There's the east side, the west side, and then the south side. Big high walls. Yes, we wouldn't call it walls, but it was. And but the way they
like there are mountains or hills or whatever.
Yeah, some sort of hills around.
I see.
Around. And so they were in the middle there, and if you ever want to get how to go up.
I see.
Yeah, on the crystal lift, we had to go up. But,
no, is he the one that was eating the butter after the war was over?
No. On the other.
Oh, chomping on butter.
It was after World War I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see.
You remember things like this?
I remember those interesting parts.
Yeah.
Walking down the street chomping on a bunch of butter.
Yeah.
So what did you eat? Were you under rations or?
Oh yes, we were actually heavily. Hang on. Everybody was given X many ration stamps.
Okay.
And it was divided. No, so much for meat, so much for groceries, and so much for bread, etc. And with them, you went to the butcher or the milk store or wherever. and go to the grocery store to get the groceries or whatever, and turn them in. And each month you got a new supply.
How did those supplies come? I mean,
The stamps came.
I know, but how did those stamps? How did you get the stamps? How do you?
You had to go to a certain office.
I see.
And when you told them who you were, and your family,
Okay.
and then you got the.
They looked on a list and they passed them out to you.
Yeah.
Now they have grocery stores like we have today, as far as all of the stuff together, your eggs in one in the store, and
No.
you could go and get your dry goods in one store. You could go get your meat in another store. You wanted milk, you went to somewhere else.
Absolutely not. It was one store. And the one store was at one aisle where the customers for customers to come in on
I see.
and wait their turn. Yes, you had to go to a clerk, and you would tell the clerk you want so much flour or so much butter or
25 pounds of bacon.
yeah. No bacon there.
No bacon.
No bacon there. It was just dry stuff. And then they would get it and fill your order. They put in, get their bag, and then they put in so much of flour or so much of rice or whatever it was. And they bring it out, and then they write up your bill, and everything was handwritten. And then it said it was X much dollars. And you paid them. You got put your groceries in your bag, in your bag, and you walked out. Same, you went to the butcher shop and they said you want, let's say, a 2-pound roast. You got that, or you want some sausage or whatever it was.
So how did the ration stamps work with that? Did you say, well, I want this, and then that's X number of ration stamps towards that, and then you gave them the stamps, plus then you paid them for the money?
Yeah.
Or whatever the charge was? Now, I remember sort of something, and it's always kind of a joke, I don't know if it's really real or not, but potato skin soup.
Well, not exactly, but after the war, we had potatoes. We had bought them in the fall, I don't know, we had a bin. We probably was maybe 3.5 by 3.5 feet, which had slats. That's all there was on the side, slats, and air in between, but same in the bottom. There could be air, and the bottom was slanted, and then there was space where then you could get it from, and you have to fill whatever you said. How many potatoes came I wanted? I don't know. Oh, you bums, stop it.
Yeah, your phone.
What we lived on, the potatoes.
Is you had that bin full of potatoes?
Well, whatever.
Right, a bunch of them.
Yeah, and we had them for lunch, boiled potatoes, and for supper. And we were given so much butter and so much cheese, and we could put about my fingernail of butter or cheese on our potatoes. That's all it was. Now breakfast, I believe my mother baked bread. She had put that flour, because we always bought lots of flour. Well, several bags of flours. 50 pounds, I don't know how they were. We went to the mill and bought it there. We put it in our little wagon and pulled it home.
Now about firewood, you got a tree a year or something like that?
Well, yes, we got had to sign up for it, and then at a certain day, we met the forester at a certain spot. He took us and said, you can cut this tree, and you cut this tree, and you cut that tree. And he told us how to notch it, and so it would fall in the right direction, more or less. And so we cut the notch out, and then he would come around and look it over and say, that's good, and also do this yet or whatever. And then the tree would go kaplunk down.
Timber!
And of course you had to cut the branches out. And you had to cut it into, I don't know, 4 or 5 foot lengths or something like that. And then the town would pick up that firewood and deliver it to us. And then there was a certain guy in the next village who had a portable sewing machine, they call it that way, and very simple. And he would take the logs that we had, and he would cut them up to stove rings, you know, foot long or whatever it was. And then we would split them, stack them.
Now, that one tree would last you a whole year?
Well, we also got coal then.
I see.
In the war, we got no coal anymore. Well, very little coal, maybe. I don't remember exactly, but after the war, of course, they didn't need all that coal for the industry to make guns and bullets and grenades and what have you for machinery.
Right. But how big around was this one tree that you got? I mean, was it an 8-inch, or I mean, was it a foot, 2 feet?
Close to a foot.
I see. And was it like a softwood?
No, no, hardwood.
It's like
Comes
oak?
Like the beach.
Beach? Okay.
We got at the beach round.
I see. It's, I don't know. Doesn't seem to me like a lot of wood. I mean, was that how was your primary cooking source, or the heating source, or?
Well, heat, yes. And we had a stove in the kitchen which had 3 electric burners, and one was blank. And then right on it, with that electric stove, was a coal stove.
I see.
1 unit.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I hear you. And Peter will hear you too. I shouldn't have needed. Anyhow, and we would make a fire in that coal stove, and put the wood into there, and then at a certain point, you would put coal into it.
Once it got hot enough.
And pour it in. And at night, before we went to bed, Oma, she took what we call briquettes. And there was pressed coal dust, probably about 8 inches or so long, and probably 2.5 inches thick and wide.
I see.
And she would wrap them in red newspaper and put it in the stove.
Huh.
Because they would keep the coal there. Because other coal wouldn't last.
Right.
That would last.
Get through the night.
And it wasn't just one piece, it was 2 or 3 thick pieces of paper. I don't know how it was. So in the morning, stirred it up.
You got coals.
Got some more wood into it. Got it warmed up. And she would also cook on that coal stove. To some extent, I don't know what extent.
During the war, did you have, since you had electric stove, did you have electrical outages, or was it pretty reliable?
Outages, I do not know. Maybe there was, I don't know. But when I was in place in 47, sometimes they turned the power off. I know my boss, he somehow found this stove, which was made for heating steam or flat irons, you'd say. And it was round, and there were, I don't know how many pieces they got to it, probably 3 on each side, so to speak. It was round, which we put irons on. And irons were probably at least 5-6 pounds heavy. They were leaning against it, and got heated up. And then there was hand grips to it. We slid into it and locked, and took it off. And then we used them for ironing, pressing it, etc.
And how was that heated? Electric or?
No, coal wood.
I see.
I had to split the wood.
Part of your tailoring job, splitting wood, huh?
Oh, then the fine tailoring, chopping wood.
Chopping wood, keeping the fire going. Well, gotta stay warm. Even tailors do. Your fingers get too cold, you can't hold the needle. But at least it's a good warm job in the wintertime.
No, the funny or strange thing was, for one thing, when we came off the street, it's a very small little step to go into the into the well, the basement, so to speak, and then into the shop. And right over there were well, storage bins and coal and wood bins.
Mm-hmm.
And I was right out there and splitting wood on cement floor. And well, 12 o'clock, lunchtime. And I walked in and said, "What's the matter? No, done out there?" I said, "No. Well, it's lunchtime now." "And you mean you quit like the bricklayers? You want me to walk a little longer for nothing?"
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody else. Nobody quit on 12 o'clock or 5 o'clock.
Really?
They walked a little, 5-10 minutes later. I don't know how they got started.
Huh. I know how to end it.
I thought I ended it right. No, what happened later, I do not know.